these controllers. The thing that we are learning is that we need something that is halfway between hands and motion controllers. We need a bit of both. These are great in some respects, they're poor in others. They're first generation, they're iterating. Those big, humongous hardware companies are learning just as much as we are, and that's okay. They shouldn't have to get it right the first time, and effectively we're all giving them feedback. The biggest thing that we can start to tell them is that when you're designing controllers, design controllers as if the person in VR is blind, because they are. They cannot see your finely grouped buttons that are all looking the same. They cannot see buttons like the HTC Vive grip buttons that are mostly hidden. We put functionality on that, and the number of times that people, including people at all of these hardware and large first and third party publishers, clicked the grip buttons accidentally, or when we put things onto the touch face buttons, and people would be peeking through the little bit of nose hole on the Rift, the little crack, trying to see which face button. What we want for the most part are buttons that are placed and shaped to the individual fingers, that are basically analog triggers, that are capacitive, so that you can tell that you're resting on them, and then something for the thumb, so that people can grip. They can open, they can close, they can point, they can do different gestures. Yes, it's fantastic to have hand tracking, but the thing about buttons is that we can get to abstractions, which we need in UI UX, which we need in VRX, because we're not in full body suits, we're not in neural implant jacks. We need abstractions also. But yeah, we're still learning. Give feedback, talk to people, show best cases and worst cases of this stuff coming together. In the upper right-hand corner, what that is a reference to is that, for better or for worse, and this was a fantastic talk back at Oculus Connect, one of the Unity devs who's heading up motion input basically said, when you're designing for motion input, assume that your users are angry drunken babies. And I love that, because they are. Because as soon as people are like, hey, motion, then they start tossing things. They start throwing things around. They start losing things. They're really excited about it. They don't read anything. But they're okay. So yeah, keep all of that in mind, that your users are going into something new and they're angry drunken babies. And they're really excited about it.
Is there a clear point when the angry drunken baby stage ends and they get into the narrative, or they get into the game in a more serious way?
Yes, but we're still figuring that out. It's so new that you can absolutely do narrative, but if you try to do too much narrative and not realize that your players are still exploring, they're still understanding the hardware, they're still understanding your interface, if you try to be too serious about things, you have a lot of capacity for essentially allowing you and them to make fun of yourselves, because there needs to be some critical space for, hey, we're still figuring this out and none of it's perfect yet. So we're not really at a point where we can go like, hey, we're going to do that perfect dramatic piece that is just about empathy. Because the players are just like, hey, and I can toss things, and this is fun. And that's okay. And they will absolutely get to more.
What if you take away that? What if you take away physics? Say things snap instead of you letting it go on.
So, and I had a wonderful talk with some folks from Microsoft and Nintendo about this recently. We want something that's somewhere in between digital and analog. We don't want completely analog, we don't want completely digital. It should be somewhere in between, and we're still all figuring that out. But I have a few more to get through here, and I know we're starting to wind down. But yeah, for the future, keep in mind that we need something between gloves and controllers. That figure manipulation is incredibly important. The hands effectively become, if the eyes are the window on the soul, that the hands are the window in many respects on us understanding the physical world. Sometimes it feels like we're literally like going through VR and we're just kind of, like we're basically like a shark, but instead of biting things, we just kind of flop our fingers around. We're like, oh, this is kind of real. And that's okay, because again, angry drunken babies. So, what I will say, at GDC, we rolled out behind closed doors our full body avatar solution. It's really hard. We spent about 7 months on it, and we did just the beginnings of it, and we impressed the hell out of a lot of folks who didn't think that we could do it. We also then proceeded to agree with them that many of us will probably be working on figuring out body over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. What you need for body is you need inverse kinematics, you need keyframe animation, you need motion capture animation, you need motion input sensing data, you need motion interpolated motion data. Because we only have 3 points now, we'll probably at some point go to 6. We really need to go to 12. We're combining things together. There's going to be, procedural facial rigging in there. There's going to be other aspects of procedural animation. It's cobbling it all together, and it's hard. And it needs a lot of different people working on a lot of different pieces. But body is good because we put people into this demo, and they were able to look down and see themselves and see another person, and you start to get to, and this is a whole other lecture, but social presence. You start to go, hey, I'm real because I see me and I see all of you, and we're moving around, and everyone in their movements, whether you just have hands or you have a full body, everyone has a unique signature in how they move. Their posture, their motions are part of their personality, are part of their unique individuality, and these are incredibly important. Later on, we'll get to things like customizing look and feel and clothing. There's so much to do in body, but it's incredibly important. People are just building the early building blocks. Many of us are going to build middleware that other people will be able to use, but it's incredibly exciting when it comes together. With that said, representation. Notice, male character, female character. I don't care if you're making a game, if you're making an app, if you're making an experience. I understand absolutely that people want to go, hey, I want to put you into this particular bit of narrative. If you only give people one choice, that gets problematic. If you say, you are always this character, this is a phrase that some of us in the game industry call Nathan Draking it, from Uncharted. Nathan Drake is basically a Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones carbon copy. That's wonderful. That's one character archetype. Not all of your characters should be white. Not all of your characters should be male, should be straight, etc., etc. You can go through a wide range of race, gender, ethnicity, culture, height, body weight. Give people choices. If you start out, just start out with a male character and a female character, and let people choose which one they want to be. Body is about trying to present who I am, who I think I want to be, how other people perceive me as, what I aspire to be, what I think I might be. Allow people to choose. If you create one representation in your presentation, in your app, in your narrative, and you say you have to be this, you're constraining people. It doesn't mean that you have to make a simulation, but you have to give people choice because you have to recognize that the audience sees themselves in there. And so why I have this? Man hands. There's a fantastic game from Insomniac called Unspoken, which I like a lot. They give one character model. They do allow you to change the skin tone. The character has what feel like oven mitts. I'm 6'3". I felt that my hands were small when trying to represent onto that character's hands. I have a team member who's female and 5 feet, and she was like, what am I supposed to do with this hand? Allow people to choose. Take the extra time. In VR, it matters. It really matters. It is part of giving that sense of presence. It's part of comfort. And frankly, if you have to start with anything, start with gender. If we're going to build a new paradigm in VR, coming from games, coming from tech, coming from mobile, coming from other areas, start with gender. Build for equal representation, please, because it's important for all of us. just getting wrapped up here, but body comfort. What we need to understand is that you ignore the body at your peril, that you can build any amount of tracking for the body, but the player always knows where their body is. They always have a sense of physical space. Be careful of when and how you intrude on that. There was a GDC demo where folks chopped off a leg in VR of a character and had blood flowing. We don't need that. It freaked people out. They wanted to rip off the headset. Like, jump scares are great. We're going where people are just trying to go in for shock value. It's more important to figure out and understand comfort and functionality than trying to just make people react. So yeah, please remember that getting people in, getting them to want to be in VR for the next while. If VR is the next computing platform, we want to get people excited about it and have it feel like it's a relatively safe space. Posture. Really quickly, build for seated, for standing, and for room scale. Build for different amounts of this. If you're only going to build for one, choose what and why. These all have very different components. Room scale, you need to be able to take at least a couple steps. Standing, you need to be able to lean over. Seated, sometimes people can only do seated. 180 degrees, 270, 360. These all have things that we figured out. Many of us have figured out. It's not rocket science at this point. But figure out what you are doing, and if you have the ability to allow people to choose, then you broaden your audience. Because you go, hey, this person has a dedicated VR room, this person has a cramped desk, this person is sitting on a couch, this person is spinning around in their chair, this person is standing but has a couple of feet. Everyone is different. Try to build for as much as you can. Last thing, traversal. It's not perfect. This is the hardest thing, period. It's even harder than body because it gets into physical and biological differences of all of us, and psychological differences as well. But you can start with building for a room. You can start with, hey, I'm just looking around here. But eventually, the holodeck, Total Recall, Ready Player One, it's about going somewhere else and not just being popped there and then looking around. It's about going around. It's about transporting and traversal. And so what that means is, in that, you have to give people a choice of traversal. You will probably, let's say, until we figure out stuff with the inner ear, 15, 20 years down the road, you cannot do one option if you're going to do traversal. You have to do multiple options. Because you will find some people who will love what you're doing, and other people who will hate it no matter what you choose. Some people will say that they are constrained by what you're doing. Other people will be sick by a different thing. So keep experimenting. We've built 8 different traversal options, and probably at least one variation on each. And then we started to go like, this one works really well in mobile VR, this works better on console, this works better on PC. Experiment, please. So free roam. This is one that you should be thinking about if people are not motion sensitive. There's a whole lot of depth in there. It's tricky, it's wonderful, it's freeing, but it is also not for everyone because it will absolutely make some people motion sick. And we've been tuning ours for 2 years, we keep tuning it, and we're so far from perfect on it. Spline-based. This works really well on mobile, where input is much simpler. You can do branching paths, you can do nodes along that, but spline-based is great, but it can also be constraining. Know that you want to do a linear path, or how much you can go beyond that. And if you're going to do spline-based, show people the spline in the same way that a passenger in a car can see the road ahead of them and can help anticipate it so they get less car sick, please. Because we did a fantastic job at making the people at Sony R&D really sick. And then we discussed exactly that. Node-based. You can go to fixed nodes, you can hop around. It's incredibly good for mobile. If you're doing it like the folks at DreamWorks, build in an eye blink. You need a transition. Go like, hey, I'm here, I'm going to there, I need a transition. It's kind of like an edit, but think about that for what you're building. Blinking, being able to choose a custom location. Some people are going to this. It's got a lot of fantastic things for it. It's wonderful. But the thing to keep in mind with it is that, and it's great for people who are motion sensitive, is that this is really tricky because it's becoming the default by some people, by some developers. Blinking completely screws up AI, physics, online, and a whole host of other areas. We are specifically building a whole bunch of things in for trying to get AI to understand that a character is blinking around. And for the most part, what we're doing is making sure that the AI can track where they're going, so that the player needs to be persistent for physics, for AI, for a whole lot of things in the world. So this is not a magic solution. It's one among many, and this is probably 25% of where it needs to be based on anyone who's made it today. And then room scale. It's fantastic until you realize that you can almost immediately bump up against the end of it. It is the least motion sensitive. It's magical, and not everybody has room for it. And we will eventually get to inside-out tracking that will take this way beyond. But these are just the start. The thing that I will leave you with is that there are no magic bullets. Try stuff out. What I will say in looking at this is that iterate, fail fast, make mistakes, try things out, be like 4-year-olds. 4-year-olds go and they build with blocks, and if it doesn't work, they knock it over and they start again. And they iterate faster than any of the rest of us because of that, because they're not worried about their mistakes, and they don't start off with the assumption that they're right. They start off with the assumption that they're having fun. Good hunting.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Can you stick around for the break? Are there any questions that anyone wanted to cover, or shall we